Good evening. My name is LaToya Bryant, and the title of this lesson is We Have a Dream Inspirational Americans for Preschoolers. This objective for the unit is pretty much about students will participate in activities and skills outlined in the core knowledge preschool sequence to recognize and learn about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Betsy Ross, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This lesson goes over at least 5 days. So today's objective, or our daily objective, is to recognize a picture of George Washington and recognize a quarter and a dollar bill. And we're going to be working in large and small group for today's lesson. The materials that we're going to use George Washington by Will Mara, which is a podcast. We're going to use quarters and dollar bills, and we're going to also use story cards that are done electronically, as well as pictures of George Washington and various housekeeping things labeled in the center for $1.25, as well as an additional book for students to gain more facts about George Washington when they go to center time in group 1. So you begin the lesson by asking students who this man is, and you pretty much give them a scavenger hunt where they're allowed to get up and look around the room to find his face. And it has to be on the shape of a rectangle. When you find him, then they're going to return back to their thinking spot on the carpet, and they're going to then share their answers on who they think the man is on a Post-it note, and they're going to stick it on a chart. The next thing, we'll transition and go to read and learn with the podcast. We'll read the book via podcast about George Washington. As we read the book, we'll stop and we'll draw and label the interesting facts about George Washington. And then we'll also read the digital story cards and lay them out so that they'll be able to see them in a sequence of a story. And then we'll talk about what happened first to help students learn more about sequencing. And so you'll see there are 4 pictures posted. Some may talk about his illness. Some may talk about the war. Some may talk about him being on a dollar bill. Some may talk about him chopping down the cherry tree. It will be interesting to figure out what happened first. Then we will transition to center time. Group 1 will stay on the carpet, and they'll begin to do story sequencing, and they'll hear another story about George Washington using the digital storyteller. And then they'll also practice building a digital storytelling with sequence. And so they're going to help decide if the story makes sense by the teacher asking questions such as, could George be sorry for chopping down the tree before he cuts it down? And of course, that's no. And after the sequencing cards and they retell the story and can tell it fluently enough, then students will listen to the rookie reader version during the digital storyteller with students in group 1. Next, we'll transition to group 2, and this is where group 2 will be dealing with math and money. And so children will be in the housekeeping area, and they'll be shown items, and they'll be given money in Ziploc bags. They'll be given 5 $1 bills and 6 quarters. They will also see that there are items in the housekeeping area that are priced for $1. And they'll go around and identify those items that are priced for $1. And they have to, in order to purchase it, they have to give the teacher $1. While they're purchasing it, the teacher is also asking questions such as, who is this man? How much is this worth? And so it's just to help students remember who George Washington is while also learning money through math. They'll also be given quarters, as I stated earlier, and they'll have items marked for 25 cents. And so if they want to purchase those items out of the housekeeping area, then they are given the opportunity to purchase. And of course, we'll review who was on the quarter, who was on the dollar, and then we'll test their knowledge on Quizlet about inspiration and money. And then we'll talk about the digital storytelling project that they'll do at the end with their family about their hopes and dreams. And I'll also go over the rubric. We'll end the lesson with an exit ticket about one interesting fact you learned today, one thing you still need help learning.